open qu'on ouvre les portes. Order. À l'ordre.
Order, please.
I have the honor to inform the House that a communication has been received, which is as follows. Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to inform you that Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Michael Jean, Governor-General of Canada, and His Excellency Jean-Daniel Lafont will arrive at the Peace Tower at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, the 3rd of March 2010. When it has been indicated that all is in readiness, Their Excellencies will proceed to the Chamber of the Senate to formally open the third session of the 40th Parliament of Canada. Yours sincerely, Sheila Marie Cook.
I have the honour to inform the House that a communication has been received, and the text is as follows, Mr. Speaker. I have the honour to inform you that Her Excellency the Right Honourable Michael Jean, Governor-General of Canada, and His Excellency Jean-Daniel Lafont will arrive at the Peace Tower at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, the 3rd day of March 2010. When it has been indicated that all is in readiness, Their Excellencies will proceed to the Chamber of the Senate to formally open the third session of the 40th Parliament of Canada. Yours sincerely, Sheila Marie Cook.
Excellency, the Governor General. Monsieur le Président, le message de Son Excellence, le Gouverneur Général.
Admit the messenger. Faites entrer le messager.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, it is the desire of Her Excellency that this House proceed immediately to the Senate.
it's the wish of Her Excellency the Governor General that this honourable chamber attend her immediately in the chamber of the Senate.
Order.
Honorables sénatrices et sénateurs,
Honorable senators,
mesdames et messieurs les députés,
members of the House of Commons,
mesdames et messieurs,
ladies and gentlemen, we are a country whose citizens do not turn back when confronted by obstacles, whatever they are, and never shrink from lending a helping hand to the most disadvantaged wherever they may be. Through the effects of the global recession, and though the effects of the global recession have not fully faded, Canadians are demonstrating a spirit of generosity that is a harbinger of hope to the people of Haiti, the poorest country in the Americas, which has been shaken by a disaster of unprecedented scope. The world we live in remains strong because of the ties of solidarity that we, women, men, and young people, forge among ourselves, and because of the care we show toward one another.
Olympics and upcoming Paralympics remind us there are also circumstances when festive hearts and the sharing of a common humanity are our greatest hope. I know Canadians will continue to care, and that spirit of solidarity will redefine their sense of sharing as efforts are made to support the economic recovery. We gather for a new session of Parliament at a time of both great uncertainty and great optimism. Uncertainty because Canadians still feel the lingering effects of a recession that was not of their making. Optimism because our country has weathered the storm better than most, and because Canadians over the past year have shown the world as never before both our capacity to care and our capability to act. The agenda our government laid before Parliament just over 1 year ago is largely in place. Through Canada's Economic Action Plan, our government took decisive steps to protect incomes, create jobs, ease credit markets, and help workers and communities get back on their feet. As we begin to see modest improvements in growth and employment, the task before us today is to finish the work begun last year. Jobs and growth remain the top priority. Our government will complete the second year of Canada's Economic Action Plan, guided by extensive consultations with leaders in business, industry, and everyday working people and their families, and make refinements where necessary. At the same time, Canada is poised to emerge from the recession powered by one of the strongest economies in the industrialized world. Therefore, our attention must also encompass the new measures Canada needs for success in the modern economy. This will require a return to fiscal balance, securing the strong budgetary position that distinguishes our country from so many others.
While the task before us is great, the ingenuity, determination, and compassion of Canadians are greater. We will ensure that Canada remains the best place in the world to raise a family. We will continue to stand up for those who built this great country, and we will forge ahead in building a Canada that is strong and united in a changing world. Canadians have confronted the challenges of the past year in the same way they have always met adversity, with pragmatism, resourcefulness, and the spirit of partnership. From the forest floor to the factory floor, Canadians have rallied in the face of the global recession. Businesses have found new ways to adapt to tighter credit and weaker markets. Workers have shared their jobs to spare colleagues from layoff. Many Canadians out of work for the first time in their lives have begun training for a new career. And households across the country have adjusted their finances to account for new realities.
Governments across the country have adapted their approaches and joined together in a concerted effort to soften the impact of the recession. Canada's Economic Action Plan is working. Tax cuts and enhanced employment insurance benefits are providing direct support to Canadians who paid into government programs over the years and now need help. From coast to coast to coast, almost 16,000 projects are putting Canadians to work while laying the foundation for future prosperity. These projects range from roads and bridges to colleges and universities, from social housing to our cultural and heritage institutions.
Communities and industries most affected by the downturn are being supported. Businesses have begun hiring again. With the economy adding more than 135,000 net new jobs since July 2009. This has restored incomes, confidence, and hope for the future for families across the country. But even as confidence returns to our economy, it would be a mistake to declare that the recession is completely behind us. Too many Canadians still find themselves out of work, and events beyond our borders could yet threaten a fragile recovery. Our government's top priority is therefore to complete the second year of Canada's Economic Action Plan and to continue creating jobs and growth. Our government will work with its partners in the provinces and territories to make certain that projects are completed now and over the coming year when the stimulus is most needed. Our government understands the real hardships experienced by Canadian families affected by job loss. Recognizing that unemployment continues to cast a long shadow over the recovery, our government will continue to work on job creation and job protection. And it will help young Canadians looking to enter today's tough job market for the first time to make the transition to work.
Events of the past year have required governments everywhere to run budgetary deficits. They also know that because our government made the responsible choice to pay down debt in good economic times, Canada's debt levels remain by far the smallest in the G7, and they appreciate that this has allowed our country to enact one of the largest stimulus programs in the world without unduly burdening future generations. At the same time, Canadians live within their means and expect their governments to do the same. Spending designed for a rainy day should not become an all-weather practice. Canadians also realize that a balanced budget is not an end in itself, but the foundation of a strong and resilient economy. In taking responsible steps to reduce the deficit, our government will not repeat the mistakes of the past. Balancing the nation's books will not come at the expense of the pensioners. It will not come by cutting transfer payments for health care and education, or by raising taxes on hard-working Canadians. These are simply excuses for a federal government to avoid controlling spending. Our government's first step toward restoring fiscal balance will not be to wind down stimulus spending as economic activity rebounds. It will work with its provincial, territorial, and municipal partners to ensure that measures under Canada's Economic Action Plan come to an end by March 31st, 2011. And as chair of the G8 and the G20 this year, our government will lead the call for a globally coordinated approach to the withdrawal of economic stimulus. The second step toward restoring fiscal balance will be to restrain federal program spending overall, while protecting growth in transfers that directly benefit Canadians, such as pensions, health care, and education. Our government will lead by example, introducing legislation to freeze the salaries of the Prime Minister, ministers, members of Parliament, and senators. It will freeze the overall budget of ministers' offices and calls on members of both houses of Parliament to do the same. Il gèlera les budgets de...
It will launch a review of administrative services. It will aggressively review all departmental spending to ensure value for money and tangible results. It will launch a review of administrative services to improve their efficiency and eliminate duplication. It will aggressively review all departmental spending to ensure value for money and tangible results. Our government will also eliminate unnecessary appointments to federal agencies, boards, commissions, and crown corporations.
Ingenuity have been the hallmarks of Canada's economy since the beginning. Aboriginal peoples, voyageurs, and pioneers established the backbone of our modern trading nation. Immigrants armed only with dreams and determination traveled west to open the land that would become our bread basket. Bright minds with bold ideas transformed sound and electricity into the communications network that links our world. But today we face new challenges. Determined new competitors are rising. The relentless pace of technology means that every day there is something newer, faster, better. To succeed in the global economy, Canada must keep step as the world races forward. Our strategy is clear. We must combine the best of our intellectual and natural resources to create jobs, growth, and opportunity. La prospérité de l'économie canadienne.
The success of Canada's economy depends on a skilled and educated workforce. Through Canada's Economic Action Plan, our government will continue to provide enhanced support for skills, apprenticeships, and training for Canadian workers. It will make timely information on labour market opportunities available for all Canadians, especially in the area of the skilled trades. It will expand the opportunities for our top graduates to pursue postdoctoral studies and to commercialize their ideas. Our government will also work hand in hand with Aboriginal communities and provinces and territories to reform and strengthen education, and to support student success and provide greater hope and opportunity.
Canada's best and brightest and bring innovative products to market. Our government will build on the unprecedented investments in Canada's Economic Action Plan by bolstering its science and technology strategy. It will launch a digital economy strategy to drive the adoption of new technology across the economy, to encourage new ideas and protect the rights of Canadians whose research, development, and artistic creativity contribute to Canada's prosperity. Our government will also strengthen laws governing intellectual property and copyright. Canada has been a spacefaring nation for nearly 50 years. Our government will extend support for advanced research, development, and prototyping of new space-based technologies, especially in support of Arctic sovereignty. Low taxes are already helping Canada attract the investment needed to turn ideas into products and services. Our government will keep tax rates competitive and low while taking aggressive steps to close unfair tax loopholes and allow a few businesses and individuals to take advantage of hard-working Canadians who pay their fair share. Notre gouvernement ouvrira.
Our government will open Canada's doors further to venture capital and to foreign investment in key sectors, including the satellite and telecommunications industries, giving Canadian firms access to the funds and expertise they need. While safeguarding Canada's national security, our government will ensure that unnecessary regulation does not inhibit the growth of Canada's uranium mining industry by unduly restricting foreign investment. It will also expand investment promotion in key markets.
Market for Canada's goods and services will require the aggressive pursuit of free trade. Our government will implement free trade agreements with Peru and the European Free Trade Association and ask Parliament to ratify new agreements with Colombia, Jordan, and Panama. Given the disappointing results of the Doha round of multilateral trade negotiations and the rapidly evolving global marketplace, our government will aggressively diversify opportunities for Canadian business through bilateral trade agreements. It will continue trade negotiations with the European Union, India, the Republic of Korea, the Caribbean Community, and other countries of the Americas, building on the successful negotiation of new or expanded air agreements with 50 countries around the world. Our government will pursue additional agreements to achieve more competition, more choice for Canadians, and more economic growth. Notre gouvernement tirera aussi parti.
Our government will also build upon the recent agreement that gives Canadian companies permanent access to state and local government procurement in the United States. Canada's strategy for economic success must leverage our considerable strengths, in particular our world-leading financial industry and energy resource endowment.
Industry set Canada apart during the global financial crisis. The World Economic Forum, among others, has recognized Canada's banking system as the strongest in the world. Our government will build upon this advantage to make Canada an even stronger world financial center. Recognizing the critical importance of sound securities regulation, both to attract investment and crack down on white-collar crime, our government will act within the ambit of the Constitution to create a Canadian securities regulator. Our energy resource endowment provides Canada with an unparalleled economic advantage that we must leverage to secure our place as a clean energy superpower and a leader in green job creation. We are the world's 7th largest crude oil producer, with the 2nd largest proven reserves. We are the 3rd largest natural gas producer, the 3rd largest hydroelectric generator, the largest producer of uranium, and by far the largest supplier of energy resources to the world's largest marketplace. To support responsible development of Canada's energy and mineral resources, our government will untangle the daunting maze of regulations that needlessly complicates project approvals, replacing it with simpler, clearer processes that offer improved environmental protection and greater certainty to industry. Our government will continue to invest in clean energy technologies. It will renew energy efficiency and emissions reduction programs to ensure they are effective. And it will position Canada's nuclear industry to capitalize on the opportunities of the global nuclear renaissance, beginning with the restructuring of Atomic Energy of Canada Limited.
Finally, our strategy for the economy must create the conditions for continued success in the industries that are the foundation for Canada's prosperity and support thousands of communities, both rural and urban. Our government will partner with the forest industry to enter new markets and deploy new technologies while respecting the softwood lumber agreement with the United States.
To reform Canada's outdated system of fisheries management. It will take steps to support a competitive livestock industry and pursue market access for agricultural products. Our government will also ensure the freedom of choice for which Western barley farmers overwhelmingly voted, and it will continue to defend supply management of dairy and poultry products. Les petites et les moyennes
Small and medium-sized businesses are the engines of the Canadian economy, responsible for the creation of most new jobs. To support them, our government will continue to identify and remove unnecessary job-killing regulation and barriers to growth.
To support the competitiveness of Canadian manufacturers and recognizing the strategic importance of a strong domestic shipbuilding industry, it will continue to support the industry's sustainable development through a long-term approach to federal procurement. Our government will also explore ways to better protect workers when their employers go bankrupt. Regardless of profession or trade, of industry or region, Canadians have always striven toward a common objective: to make a home and nurture a family. For many Canadians, there can be no greater accomplishment than to provide for their children, to contribute to the local community, and to live in a safe and secure country. Our government shares and supports these aspirations. To help Canadian families to balance work and family life, our government introduced the universal child care benefit to to provide $100 per month for each child under the age of 6. This is direct financial support to working families that gives them the freedom to choose the best child care for them. Our government will strengthen this benefit for sole support single-parent families. Protecting the health and safety of Canadians and their families is a priority for our government. This commitment was reflected in its decision to secure the H1N1 vaccine for every Canadian, to assure parents that their children's food, medicine, and toys are safe. Our government will reintroduce legislation to protect Canadian families from unsafe food, drug, and consumer products. Our government will respect the wishes of Canadians by reintroducing the consumer product safety legislation in its original form.
Our government will continue to strengthen Canada's food safety system. It will ensure that families have the information they need to make informed choices, and it will hold those who produce, import, and sell goods in Canada accountable for the safety of Canadians. To prevent accidents that harm our children and youth, our government will also work in partnership with non-governmental organizations to launch a national strategy on childhood injury prevention.
Parents are in the best position to make decisions for their families. The best solutions to the diverse challenges confronting Canada's communities are often found locally. Every day, the power of innovation is seen at work in communities across this country as citizens, businesses, and charitable groups join forces to tackle local problems. Too often, however, grassroots efforts are hobbled by red tape. Too often, local solutions are denied access to government assistance because they do not fit the bureaucratic definition of the problem. Too often, the efforts of communities falter not on account of a lack of effort of heart, but because of a lack of expertise to turn good ideas into reality. Our government will take steps to support communities in their efforts to tackle local challenges. It will look to innovative charities and forward-thinking private sector companies to partner on new approaches to many social challenges. To recognize the enormous contribution volunteers make to Canada, our government will also establish a Prime Ministerial Award for volunteerism. Our communities are built on the rule of law, the cornerstone of peace, order, and good government. The law must protect everyone, and those who commit crimes must be held to account. Canadians want a justice system that delivers justice. We know we can protect ourselves without compromising the values that define our country.
Our government acted decisively to crack down on crime and ensure the safety and security of our neighborhoods and communities. It introduced laws mandating prison sentences for gun crimes, toughening sentencing for dangerous criminals, raising from 16 from 14 the age of protection from adult sexual predators, and ensuring that criminals serve sentences that reflect the severity of their crimes. Our government will now focus on the further protection of children, women, and victims of white-collar crime. It will protect the most vulnerable members of society, our children. It will introduce legislation to increase the penalties for sexual offenses against children, as well as legislation to strengthen the sex offender registry. It will protect children from internet luring and cyber abuse.
The youth criminal justice system responds strongly to those few who commit serious and violent crimes, while focusing on the rehabilitation of all young offenders. Our government will propose laws ensuring that for multiple murderers, life means life, and requiring that violent offenders serve their time in jail, not in the luxury of home. It will reintroduce tough legislation to combat the organized criminal drug trade. Our government will respect the will of Canadians by reintroducing this legislation in its original form. Our government will take additional action to address the disturbing number of unsolved cases of murdered and missing Aboriginal women. The Sisters in Spirit initiative has drawn particular attention to this pressing criminal justice priority. Our government will also introduce legislation to crack down on white-collar crime and secure justice for victims through tougher sentences. Hard-working Canadians who entrust their retirement savings to others have a right to see that trust honored. Justice must be effective, swift, and true. It must also be fair to victims of crime. To ensure justice is effective, our government will introduce legislation to give police investigative powers for the 21st century. Canada's police officers and chiefs have asked for these vital tools to stay ahead of the tactics adopted by today's criminals. To ensure justice is delivered swiftly, our government will introduce legislation to improve criminal procedures to cut the number of long, drawn-out trials. Notre gouvernement
Our government will also offer tangible support to innocent victims of crime and their families. It will give families of murder victims access to special benefits under employment insurance. It will introduce legislation to give employees of federally regulated industries the right to unpaid leave if they or members of their families are victimized by crime. And our government will introduce legislation to make the victim surcharge mandatory to better fund victim services. Just as criminals threaten Canadians' personal safety, terrorists threaten our country's security. Our peaceful, prosperous, and pluralistic society is one of the safest places in the world to live. Yet Canada faces real, significant, and shifting threats. Our government will take steps to safeguard Canada's national security.
travel by air safer by employing the latest screening practices and detection technologies for passengers and cargo. While the cost of air security must be borne by businesses and individuals who use air transport, our government will ensure their contribution is invested responsibly and effectively and delivers measurable results. It will introduce a new biometric passport that will significantly improve security. It will modernize the judicial tools employed to fight terrorism and organized crime. Working with provinces, territories, and the private sector, our government will implement a cybersecurity strategy to protect our digital infrastructure. Canadians believe sacrifice and hard work should be recognized. As we strive to create an even better future for our families and communities, our government will stand up for those who built and defended this country. Grâce à l'excellence de nos soins de santé,
superior health care and quality of life mean that Canadians now enjoy one of the longest life expectancies in the world. As more and more Canadians enter their golden years, our government will seek to enhance their well-being. This demographic shift poses a challenge to the sustainability of our social programs and our economy. Our government will meet the demands of the aging population. Our government has taken numerous measures to assure our senior citizens that Canada's retirement income system is the strongest in the world. Among other measures, our government has introduced tax-free savings accounts and income splitting for Canada's pensioners.
Those planning for retirement, our government will continue to work with the provinces and territories on options to further strengthen Canada's retirement income system. In recognition of the contributions seniors make to society, our government will support legislation establishing Seniors' Day. Just as generations of Canadians worked on the home front to build this great country, so too have generations of veterans fought to defend Canada and Canadian values around the world. We are reminded of the bravery and sacrifice of those who serve in our armed forces, and we celebrate this year's centenary of the Royal Canadian Navy, and as we mark the passing of John Henry Foster Babcock, the last surviving Canadian veteran of World War I. A national day of commemoration will be held on Vimy Ridge Day, April 9th, to celebrate the contribution his generation made to the cause of freedom.
Today, however, a new generation of men and women in uniform continues to stand up for the values and principles Canadians hold dear. In Afghanistan, the Canadian forces prepare for the end of the military mission in 2011 with the knowledge that through great sacrifice and with great distinction, their efforts saved Kandahar province from falling back under Taliban control. After 2011, our effort in Afghanistan will focus on development and humanitarian aid. In Haiti, the Canadian forces have taken the lessons learned in Afghanistan and put them to use in very different circumstances. Their speed and effectiveness in deployment were and are unsurpassed in the world.
In the profession of arms is an extraordinary and honorable acceptance of risks, many of which cannot be foreseen, and all of which may have profound personal consequences for those who assume them. Our government has supported our men and women in uniform, not only in words, but by making the investments necessary to rebuild Canada's military. Our government will continue to stand up for our military and our veterans. Our government will change the unfair rules restricting access to benefits under employment insurance for military families who have paid into the system for years. To further commemorate the sacrifices of our armed forces, our government will bring individuals, groups, and businesses together to build community war memorials. Our government has established the new Veterans Charter and an ombudsman, expanded the Veterans Independence Program, and in recognition of the gallant service of Allied veterans who fought alongside Canadian troops during the Second World War and the Korean War, reinstated benefits under the War Veterans Allowance Act. Our government will continue to modernize support systems for Canadian veterans. Honoring those who built this country includes recognizing the contribution of those who make their living on the land and the realities of rural life in Canada. Our government will continue to support legislation to repeal the wasteful and ineffective long-gone registry that targets law-abiding farmers and hunters, not criminals. Notre gouvernement reconnaît également
Our government also recognizes the contributions of Canada's Aboriginal people. Too often, their stories have been ones of sorrow. Our government will continue to build on its historic apology for the treatment of children in residential schools. After settling 17 specific claims since this Parliament began, it will continue to work to resolve additional claims. Having made safe drinking water and effective wastewater treatment on reserve a national priority, our government will introduce new legislative measures to further this goal.
That Aboriginal people in Canada were granted the right to vote. To further protect the rights of Aboriginal people, particularly women living on reserve, our government will take steps to ensure the equitable distribution of real property assets in the event of death, divorce, or separation. It will also introduce legislation to comply with a recent court decision in order to address gender inequality under the Indian Act. Our values as Canadians are rooted in our history and in our institutions. Our parliamentary democracy, which brought together people of many lands, faiths, and languages to live in harmony. Our federal system, which recognizes our differences while advancing our unity. Our official languages, our northern landscape. Notre pays laisse encore.
We are a country whose story is still being written. Last month, Canadians took pride in the inspired performances of our Olympic athletes at the Winter Games in Vancouver, and they cheered when Alexandre Bilodeau won our first ever Olympic gold medal on our own soil. But our athletes did not stop at just one. They surpassed the record for the most gold medals ever won at a Winter Olympics. We are proud of our medalists and the entire Canadian Olympic team. Next week, the Paralympic Games will officially begin, and again we will cheer as our athletes take on the world. Our government will continue to invest in world-class Canadian athletics.
A shared understanding of Canadian history unites us as citizens. 2 years ago, we celebrated the 400th anniversary of the founding of Quebec City. This year, we mark the quadricentenary of the settling of Cupids, Newfoundland and Labrador. 2 years hence, our government will engage millions of citizens and strengthen knowledge and pride in Canada by commemorating the bicentennial of the War of 1812 an event that was key to shaping our identity as Canadians and ultimately our existence as a country. That year, Canadians will also celebrate the 60th anniversary of the accession of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, and our government has established a Diamond Jubilee Committee to prepare for this historic occasion. Our government will also ask Parliament to examine the original gender-neutral English wording of the national anthem. We are a country founded on democracy. Our shared values and experiences must be reflected in our national institutions, starting with Parliament. To reflect the growing number of Canadians living in Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta, our government will follow through on its commitment to address their underrepresentation, consistent with the fundamental, democratic, constitutional principle of representation by population in the House of Commons. It will propose legislation to increase voter participation by expanding advance voting in elections. Our government also remains committed to Senate reform and will continue to pursue measures to make the upper chamber more democratic, effective, and accountable. Our government recognizes the Public Service of Canada as a critical national institution. Our government will continue to support the renewal of the public service and ensure it is ready for the changes required by the aging of its own and the wider Canadian labour force. Notre pays est bilingue.
We are a bilingual country. Canada's 2 official languages are an integral part of our history and position us uniquely in the world. Building on the recognition that the Québécois form a nation within a united Canada and the roadmap for Canada's linguistic duality, our government will take steps to strengthen further Canada's francophone identity. It will also continue to respect provincial jurisdiction and to restrict the use of the federal spending power.
With an Aboriginal heritage, a growing number of states have given qualified recognition to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Our government will take steps to endorse this aspirational document in a manner fully consistent with Canada's Constitution and laws. We are a country of immigrants. Our identities are bound up in the stories of ancestors from hundreds of lands. To share these stories, our government will introduce legislation to establish Pier 21 in Halifax, the site where so many began their Canadian journey, as Canada's National Museum of Immigration. It will continue to work with the provinces to strengthen recognition of foreign credentials through the Pan-Canadian Framework for the Assessment and Recognition of Foreign Qualifications. To better protect would-be immigrants, our government will take steps to shut down unscrupulous immigration consultants. Our government will also introduce legislation to speed up the revocation of citizenship of those who have concealed their war crimes. Notre pays est une terre de refuge.
We are a country of refuge. For those victimized by disaster in their homeland or facing persecution by their own governments, Canada is a beacon. When disaster struck in Haiti, our government accelerated the adoption process for Haitian orphans. And it is allowing Haitians temporarily in Canada to extend their stays. to remove the years of uncertainty often faced by refugees in genuine need, while closing off avenues for those simply seeking a back door into the country, our government will propose comprehensive reforms to the refugee system. It supports the establishment of a national monument to the victims of communism, and it will support legislation to establish a national Holocaust memorial.
Country. Canadians are deeply influenced by the vast expanse of our Arctic and its history and legends. Our government established the Northern Strategy to realize the potential of Canada's North for Northerners and all Canadians. It will create a world-class high Arctic research station. The Joint Review Panel on the Mackenzie Gas Project has completed its report. Our government will reform the Northern regulatory regime to ensure that the region's resource potential can be developed where commercially viable, while ensuring a better process for protecting our environment. It will continue to give Northerners a greater say over their own future and take further steps toward territorial devolution. Our government will continue to vigorously defend Canada's Arctic sovereignty. It will continue to map our northern resources and waters. It will take action to increase marine safety and reduce pollution from shipping and other maritime traffic. Our government will also work with other northern countries to settle boundary disagreements. Notre pays.
We are a country of unparalleled natural beauty. To further protect and preserve the diversity and health of our natural environment, our government will bolster its action plan on clean water. And it will build on the creation of more than 85,000 square kilometers of national parks and marine conservation areas as part of its national conservation plan. We are a country that stands up for what is right in the world. Canadians want their government to do what is right, not what is popular. They want their country to carry its share of work in international affairs, not just talk about it. And they want their government to make only those commitments it intends to keep. In the debate among nations, our government will pursue a foreign policy that responds to changing times, but remains anchored in Canadian values and an enlightened view of sovereignty that recognizes the national interests are often interconnected.
This year of the North American G8 and G20 summits, our government will advocate greater investment in maternal and child health in developing countries. It will continue to push for stronger financial market regulation modeled after Canada's world-leading practices, and it will oppose trade protectionism in all its guises. Our government will use its voice to speak on behalf of Canada's commitment to global security and human rights. Recognizing the danger posed by the proliferation of nuclear materials and technology to global peace and security, our government will support the initiatives of President Obama and participate fully in the landmark Nuclear Security Summit in Washington in April. Nowhere is a commitment to principled policy backed by action needed more than in addressing climate change. Our government has advocated for an agreement that includes all the world's major greenhouse gas emitters, for that is the only way to actually reduce global emissions. And it has pursued a balanced approach to emissions reduction that recognizes the importance of greening the economy for tomorrow and protecting jobs today. L'accord de Copenhague incarne ces principes.
The Copenhagen Accord reflects these principles and is fully supported by the Government of Canada. Together with other industrialized countries, Canada will provide funding to help developing economies reduce their emissions and adapt to climate change. Here at home, our government will continue to take steps to fight climate change by leading the world in clean electricity generation and recognizing our integrated continental economic links. Our government will work to reduce emissions through the Canada-US Clean Energy Dialogue launched last year with President Obama's administration.
And members of the Commons, you are charged with an important task: to give voice to the values, concerns, and aspirations of Canadians. This is a year when the eyes of the world are on Canada. A year in which our athletes are excelling here at home at the Olympic and Paralympic Games. A year in which Canada will host world leaders at the North American G8 and G20 summits. A year in which Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II will celebrate Canada Day with Canadians. A year in which Canadians are leading the way in humanitarian efforts in Haiti, just as they are standing for freedom at great cost in Afghanistan. And it is a year during which the Canadian economy is emerging from recession as one of the strongest and most resilient in the developed world. These are all things of which Canadians can be justifiably proud. Ces faits rappellent à tous les Canadiens.
They remind every Canadian that our citizenship is more than a contract to pay taxes in exchange for government services. To be Canadian is to show the world that people drawn from every nation can live in harmony. To seek peace but stand on guard for rights, democracy, and the rule of law. To be resolute in confronting a global crisis and ambitious in planning for a more prosperous future.
Aspire will not arrive by chance. Grand visions for a nation's future will come to nothing if not balanced by the means to pay for them. To realize the hopes Canadians hold for themselves and their families, the economy must remain our government's single most urgent priority. Hope is born on the wings of prosperity. That is why tomorrow our government will present a budget focused on jobs and growth, now and for the future. Honourable members, let us join together to build a stronger Canada and a stronger economy. As you set about this vital work, I pray that divine providence guide you in your deliberations.
Order. À l'ordre.
Order.
House, that in accordance with the representation made by the government pursuant to Standing Order 55-1, I have caused to be published a special order paper giving notice of a government motion. Je dépose donc.
I now lay upon the table the relevant document.
Order. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would ask for the consent of the House to introduce a bill respecting the administration of oaths of office. I would ask for the unanimous consent of the House to have that bill printed.
Monsieur Harper.
Mr. Harper, seconded by Mr. Hill, moves for leave to introduce a bill respecting the administration of oaths of office. This motion is deemed adopted.
Mr. Hill moves that the bill be now read a first time and by unanimous consent be printed. The motion for first reading is deemed adopted. Is it agreed that the bill be printed? Agreed, and so ordered. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition is rising on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order related to Bill C-1, which has just been introduced in the House. By dealing with this bill as the first order of business, the House is affirming an important principle that it is paramount, not the government. This
is an important constitutional principle. It is the government that is responsible to the House of Commons and not the other way around.
Seek unanimous consent to adopt a motion that underscores the supremacy of the House of Commons and seeks common ground on the issue of prorogation. The motion reads as follows, that this House hereby establishes a special committee to be structured along the lines of the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs, and having all the powers of a standing committee, to conduct an immediate examination into the issue of prorogation, to advise the House on the circumstances in which it's appropriate or inappropriate for the Prime Minister to request that Parliament be prorogued, and to repair such necessary changes to the standing orders or legislation or both, and that the committee report to the House no later than April 15th, 2010. I ask that you seek unanimous consent for this motion, Mr. Speaker.
Does the Honourable Leader of the Opposition have the unanimous consent of the House to propose this motion? There is no consent. Order. 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 I have the honour to inform the House that when this House did attend Her Excellency this day in the Senate chamber, Her Excellency was pleased to make a speech to both Houses of Parliament, and to prevent mistakes, I have obtained a copy, which is as follows. May I dispense? Agreed?
Read it in its entirety.
Order. The Right Honourable Order. I believe the Right Honourable Prime Minister has another motion he's going to put to him.
Hey, what is it, Jay?
Mr. Speaker, I move that the speech from the throne delivered this day by Her Excellency the Governor-General to both Houses of Parliament be taken into consideration later this day.
Monsieur Harper, appuyé.
Mr. Harper, seconded by Mr. Hill, moves that the speech of Her Excellency delivered this day from the throne to both Houses of Parliament be taken into consideration later this day.
To adopt the motion? Agreed? Je déclare la motion adoptée.
Declare the motion carried.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I request that an order of the day be designated for the budget presentation, which will be delivered in this House on Thursday, March 4th, 2010 at 4 p.m.
Honourable Chief Government Whip is rising.
Mr. Speaker, that notwithstanding the calendar tabled by the Speaker pursuant to Standing Order 28-2B, the House sit during the week of March 15 to 19, 2010, and the week of April 12 to 16, 2010.
Hear, hear. Does the Honourable Chief Government Whip have the unanimous consent of the House to propose this motion? Agreed? The House has heard the terms of the motion.
It is the pleasure of the House to adopt it.
D'accord?
Agreed?
Declare la motion.
I declare the motion carried.
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board. Order. Order.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the business of supply be considered at the next sitting of the House. Monsieur le Président, je propose...
Mr. Speaker, I moved that the business of supply be considered at the next sitting of the House.
Mr. Day, seconded by Mr. Hill, moves that the business of supply be considered at the next sitting of the House. Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed? And so ordered. The Honourable asked. I've done it. I just did that. I've got to inform the House about the number. Order. It is my duty to inform the House that 4 days will be allotted for the supply period ending March 26, 2010, and that 9 days will be allotted for the supply period ending June 23, 2010. The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, a message from Her Excellency, the Governor-General, signed by the Governor-General.
Order. Her Excellency, the Governor-General, hereby transmits to the House of Commons the Supplementary Estimate C of sums required to defray expenses of the Public Service of Canada for the fiscal year ending on March 31, 2010, and in accordance with Section 54 of the Constitution Act 1867, recommends these estimates to the House of Commons, dated February 23, 2010, signed by l'Honorable Louise Charon.
The Honourable Louise Charon.
Son Excellence, la Gouverneure Générale.
Your Excellency, the Governor-General transmits to the House of Commons the Supplementary Estimates C, involving the funds necessary for the funding of the federal administration for the financial year ending March 31st, 2010, in compliance with the Constitution Act 1867, signed February 23rd, 2010, signed by the Deputy Governor-General.
Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, yet another message from Her Excellency, the Governor-General, signed by the Deputy Governor-General.
Order. Her Excellency, the Governor-General, hereby transmits to the House of Commons the main estimates of sums required to defray expenses of the Public Service of Canada for the financial year ending on March 31st, 2011, and in accordance with Section 54 of the Constitution Act 1867, recommends those estimates to the House of Commons, dated February 23rd, 2010, signed by the Honourable Louise Charon, Deputy Governor-General. Son Excellence.
Her Excellency, the Governor-General transmits to the House of Commons the main estimates for the funds necessary for the administration of the public service for the exercise ending March 31st, 2011, pursuant to Section 54 of the Constitution Act 1867, recommends this budget to the House of Commons February 23rd, 2010, signed by the Deputy Governor-General.
Order. Je souhaite faire une déclaration.
I wish to make a statement with respect to private members' business. Standing Order 86-1 states that all items of private members' business originating in the House of Commons that have been listed on the order paper during the previous session shall be deemed to have been considered and approved at all stages completed at the time of prorogation.
This means that notwithstanding prorogation, the list for the consideration of private members' business established at the beginning of the 40th Parliament shall continue for the duration of this Parliament. All items will keep the same number as in the first and second sessions of the 40th Parliament, and more specifically, all bills and motions standing on the list of items outside the order of precedence shall continue to stand there. Bills that had met the notice requirement and were printed in the order paper but had not yet been introduced will be republished on the order paper under the heading Introduction of Private Members' Bills, and bills that had not yet been published on the order paper need to be recertified by the Office of the Law Clerk and Parliamentary Counsel and resubmitted for publication on the notice paper. Les affaires inscrites.
All items in the order of precedence are deemed to have been considered and approved at all stages completed at the time of prorogation. Thus, they shall stand, if necessary, on the order paper in the same place or, as the case may be, referred to the appropriate committee or sent to the Senate. At prorogation, there were 11 private members' bills originating in the House of Commons adopted at second reading and referred to the appropriate committee. Therefore, pursuant to Standing Order 86-1, Bill C-290, an act to amend the Income Tax Act, tax credit for loss of retirement income, is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Finance.
Respecting corporate accountability for the activities of mining, oil or gas in developing countries is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development. Bill C-304, an act to ensure secure, adequate, accessible and affordable housing for Canadians, is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and the Status of Persons with Disabilities. Le projet de loi.
Bill C-308, an act to amend the Employment Insurance Act, improvement of the employment insurance system, is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and the Status of Persons with Disabilities.
309, an act establishing the Economic Development Agency of Canada for the region of Northern Ontario, is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Industry, Science and Technology. Bill C-310, an act to provide certain rights to air passengers, is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Transport, Infrastructure and Communities. Bill C-391, an act to amend the Criminal Code and the Firearms Act, repeal of long gun registry, is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security. Bill C-393, an act to amend the Patent Act, drugs for international humanitarian purposes, and to make a consequential amendment to another act, is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Industry, Science and Technology. Le projet de loi C.
Bill C-395, an act to amend the Employment Insurance Act, labor dispute, is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and the Status of Persons with Disabilities.
42, an act to establish a national Holocaust monument, is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Transport, Infrastructure and Communities. And Bill C-464, an act to amend the Criminal Code, justification for detention in custody, is deemed referred to the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights. Conformément.
Pursuant to Standing Order 97-1, committees will be required to report on these reinstated private members' bills within 60 sitting days of this statement. In addition, one private member's bill originating in the House of Commons had been read the third time and passed. Therefore, pursuant to Standing Order 86-1, the following bill is deemed adopted at all stages and passed by the House.
268, an act to amend the Criminal Code minimum sentence for offenses involving trafficking of persons under the age of 18 years. Accordingly, a message will be sent to the Senate to inform them that this House has adopted this bill. Les affaires inscrites au nom.
As they are no longer members of this House, all the items standing in the names of Ms. Dawn Black, Mr. Bill Casey, and Mr. Paul Crête will be dropped from the order paper. Consideration of private members' business will start on Friday, March 5th, 2010.
Members will find at their desks an explanatory note recapitulating these remarks, and I trust that these measures will assist the House in understanding how private members' business will be conducted in the third session. In addition, the table can answer any questions you may have. I'm now prepared to propose for the ratification of the House a candidate for the position of Deputy Chair of Committees of the whole House. Pursuant to Standing Order 8, I propose Madame Savoie pour la poste de vice-président des comités.
For the position of Deputy Chair of Committees of the Whole. The motion is deemed moved and seconded.
Agreed? Agreed and so ordered. I'm also now prepared to propose for the ratification of the House a candidate for the position of Assistant Deputy Chair of Committees of the whole House. Conformément à l'article 8 du règlement.
Pursuant to Standing Order 8, I propose Mr. De Volen for the position of Assistant Deputy Chair of Committees of the Whole.
Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed? And so ordered. Merci beaucoup. Félicitations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
The Honourable Chief Government Whip, I believe, has a motion.
Mr. Speaker, that the membership of the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs be amended as follows. Randy Hoback for Paul Calandra. That the list of associate members of the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs be amended as follows. Paul Calandra for Randy Hoback. Here, here.
Aussie train. NHL deadline already displayed.
Yeah, is that all he said? Order. Just a second. Okay. Order. Mr. O'Connor, seconded by Mr. Hill, moves that the membership of the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs be amended as follows. Randy Hoback for Paul Calandra. And that the list of associate members of the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs be amended as follows. Mr. Calandra for Paul Calandra for Randy Hoback. Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed? Agreed? I declare the motion carried. The Honourable Chief Government Whip has another motion.
Mr. Speaker, that notwithstanding any standing order or usual practices of the House, after consultation with the party whips, the Clerk of the House be authorized to convene a meeting of the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs later this day. That the first report of the said committee concerning membership and associate membership of standing and standing joint committees be deemed concurred in upon presentation, and that for all standing committees, routine motions in effect at the time of prorogation of the previous session be deemed to have been adopted in the current session, provided that committees be empowered to alter or rescind such motions as they deem appropriate.
Mr. O'Connor, seconded by Mr. Hill, moved que nonobstant tout article.
That the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs be appointed to prepare a report list of members. The Clerk of the House will convoke this committee later today, and that the committee's report be deemed adopted after its tabling in the House. And for all standing and standing joint committees, the rules that were current at the time of prorogation be renewed. I declare the motion carried.
Government Whip, I believe, has another motion.
Mr. Speaker, that the special committee be appointed to consider the Canadian mission in Afghanistan, consisting of 12 members, which shall include 6 members from the government party, 3 members from the official opposition, 2 members from the Bloc Québécois, and 1 member from the New Democratic Party, provided that the chair shall be from the government party, that in addition to the chair, there shall be 1 vice chair. That the members to serve on the said committee be appointed by the whip of each party, depositing with the clerk of the House a list of his or her party's members of the committee no later than March the 3rd, 2010. And that a quorum of the special committee be 7 members of any proceedings, provided that at least 1 member of the government party and 1 member from the opposition be present. That membership substitutions be permitted to be made from time to time, if required, in the manner provided for in Standing Order 1142. And that the committee have all the powers of a standing committee as provided in the standing orders, as well as the power to travel accompanied by the necessary staff inside and outside of Canada, subject to the usual authorization from the House. And that the evidence and documentation received by the Special Committee on the Canadian mission in Afghanistan during the second session of the 40th Parliament be referred to this committee and taken into consideration in this session. And that the committee shall meet regularly with the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation, National Defence and Public Safety, and senior officials, so that the Special Committee can make frequent recommendations on the conduct and progress of Canada's efforts in Afghanistan. Hear, hear.
Mr. O'Connor, seconded by Mr. Hill, moves that a special committee. May I dispense? Dispense? Agreed? Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed? D'accord? Je déclare la motion adoptée.
I declare the motion carried.
Chief Government Whip. Oh.
Mr. Speaker, that notwithstanding any standing order or usual practice of the House for the remainder of the current session, the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs shall have the same power with respect to the membership of special committees that it has with respect to the membership of standing committees pursuant to Standing Order 1144.
Let me finish this one. Mr. O'Connor, seconded by Mr. Hill, moved that notwithstanding any standing order or usual practice of the House, may I dispense? Agreed. Is it
the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed. I declare the motion carried.
Member for Wascana is rising on a point of order.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I was trying to get your eye earlier when you were dealing with the motion pertaining to the Standing Committee on Afghanistan. The government was kind enough to circulate earlier in the day the wording of the motion that they proposed to present in the House, and the reading of the motion that was just made by the Chief Government Whip does not appear to accord with the circulated document that the government circulated to other opposition parties earlier. And before this matter is disposed of, Mr. Speaker, I think it would be very important to determine that the wording of the document that was circulated to other opposition parties is exactly the same as the document that was read by the Chief Government Whip, because the last paragraph appears to be missing unless that was simply an error.
The Honourable Chief Government Whip.
Mr. Speaker, it was an error, and the missing paragraph should read, review the laws and procedures governing the use and operation of operational and national security exceptions for the withholding of information from Parliament, the courts, and the Canadian people, with those responsible for administering those laws and procedures, to ensure that Canadians are being provided with ample information on the conduct and progress of the mission.
So, I guess order. So, is it agreed that the motion be amended to read as now outlined by the Chief Governing Whip? Since it's already carried, now it's carried with the amendment. Agreed? Thank you. Splendid. Adopté. Another point of order. The Honourable Government House Leader is rising on a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that notwithstanding any standing order or usual practice of this House, the House resolve itself into Committee of the Whole in order to welcome torchbearers carrying the Paralympic flame, that the Speaker be permitted to preside over the Committee of the Whole and make welcoming remarks on behalf of the House, and when the proceedings of the Committee have concluded, the Committee shall rise.
Does the Honourable Government House Leader have the consent of the House to propose this motion? Oui. La Chambre l'a entendu.
The House has heard the motion. Is it ready to adopt the motion? Carried.
Resolve itself into Committee of the Whole. Shall I stand up? Order. Order. Today, in celebration of the upcoming Paralympic Games, we are proud to welcome the Olympic flame and torch here in the chamber of the House of Commons. La flamme a été allumée le 20.
The torch was lit on October 22nd, 2009 in Greece, the ancestral home of the Games. It was entrusted to Canadian organizers and Olympic and Paralympic officials.
October the 30th, the Olympic flame has visited many communities across our country, and today it begins a new journey, a 10-day relay, 2010 Paralympic torch relay that will give more Canadians a chance to discover the unique and inspiring stories of Paralympians and other Canadians who defy the odds. Carrying the Vancouver 2010 Olympic torch is Paralympian multiple gold medalist Arnold Bolt, the first torch bearer. The first torchbearer for the 2010 Paralympic Winter Games, who only a few hours ago took up the flame from the Olympic cauldron in a lighting ceremony here on Parliament Hill. Mr. Bolt won 3 gold medals in the high jump and long jump at the Toronto 1976 Paralympic Games and participated in 4 subsequent Paralympic Games, winning other gold and silver medals and breaking high jump records in the process. J'invite maintenant Monsieur.
I would now ask Mr. Arnold Bolt and Mr. Jim Richards. I would like to congratulate you on behalf of all my colleagues.
Of the House, I offer the Vancouver Organizing Committee our sincere congratulations for an immensely successful Games and our best wishes to all the Canadian athletes for great success in Vancouver 2010 Paralympic Games.
Jumping around.
Order. Orders of the day. Ordre du jour.
Consideration of an address in reply to the speech from the throne. Prise en considération d'une adresse.
Consideration of a reply to the speech from the throne.
Ordre, l'honorable député de Montmagny.
The honorable member for Montmagny-Lillet, Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup.
I know.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. C'est un énorme.
It's a great privilege for me today to rise to reply to the speech from the throne as read by the Governor-General. I wish to thank the Prime Minister for giving me this opportunity. Before describing my riding and the actions of my government, I would like to pay tribute to the exceptional performance of our athletes last month at the Olympics. I want to point out the performance and courage and determination of figure skater Joanie Rochette, who, despite the sudden death of her mother, achieved a great performance that allowed her to win a well-deserved bronze medal. Congratulations, Joanie. And congratulations to Alexandre Bilodeau, who won the first gold medal on Canadian soil, and J.C. Anderson. Congratulations to all our athletes, Guillaume Bastille from my riding, who roused up the crowds by skating faster than lightning. The Canadian men's and women's hockey teams, who once again prove that Canada is a superpower when it comes to hockey. I can't mention all our athletes who distinguished themselves because there are too many, but I want to congratulate and thank the entire Canadian Olympic team for having allowed us to watch these unforgettable moments. We have a record in gold medals, and that's something to be proud of about. And now that the Paralympics are opening, I'm convinced that our Paralympic athletes will continue in the same vein and make us very proud to be citizens of this great country. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to talk about my riding and the people who live in my region. I was elected last November 9th by people in my riding of Montmagny, Lillet, Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup, and I can tell you that voters in my riding are very pleased to have chosen a party and a prime minister that takes measures to make our country grow.
Je veux prendre quelques instants, Monsieur le Président et chers collègues, pour vous décrire mon point.
I want to describe my region, one I love very much, which I work with great pleasure that's very hard to hide. I'm from the Kamouraska region. In the middle of my riding, its inhabitants, like me, are hard-working people who love life. The farmers along the St. Lawrence River or along the sinuous roads in the forest are things that make us happy to live there. The Rivière-du-Loup region has the loveliest sunsets in the world, according to National Geographic magazine. This defines our future, and we want to make a future even better. The quality of life and the quality of the people in my riding are proud Canadians who want to participate in the flourishing of our country. The many islands facing my riding are incredibly beautiful. Gros-Îles is a historic site which is very popular with tourists. It was the entry by many immigrants on Canadian soil. Many refugees pass through this island, and many birds now roost there. Our immigrants fashioned our country, and we're very proud of them. The South Shore is home to many enterprises, small, medium, or world-class, such as Bombardier. Our workers are well-trained and have an impact on our quality of life. And they work with various and make various products exceptionally well. Our research centers are among the best in the country, and we're very proud once again to contribute to the quality of life of all of Canada. A country where it is good to live. You know, my voters talk to me, Mr. Speaker. I meet with them regularly, and I consulted them concerning the upcoming budget. People in my riding were able to express themselves through an online survey, and a large number of them responded. What counts most for these people is probably finding a balance between budget continuity to get out of this recession completely and solutions to avoid a deficit. We have to strike this balance to help Canadians affected by this recession. That's what came out of our survey, and citizens in my riding were happy that their MP was interested in their views. This was the first time in a long time that a member from the region asked them their opinion about the next federal budget. It's very interesting to see that our constituents are much more interested in politics than we may think. Voters are those who elect us, and they deserve our respect, Mr. Speaker. It's important to consult them, and that's what I did. That's what I will continue to do, Mr. Speaker. The first role of a Member of Parliament is to give a voice to his fellow citizens in Ottawa, and I intend to continue to defend their interests here in the House of Commons. One of my primary tasks is to improve the quality of life of the people around me by creating high-quality permanent jobs. The Economic Action Plan of Canada is so effective that despite the difficult hardships, the unemployment rate in our region remained quite low, and many thousands of jobs were created since last July. For the good of our constituents, the effects of the Economic Action Plan on job creation can continue to be felt in 2010, as the government will stay the course and continue to have economic stimulus measures. There's a lot of work that's left to be done, Mr. Speaker, and on this side of the House, we intend to do everything we can to make sure that Canadians are stronger than ever coming out of this recession. I sincerely believe that the role of an elected official is to represent voters properly, and I will be interested in meeting with them, reading their messages or their letters. I want to tell them that I am very attached to this large, lovely country that I'm so proud of. I also talk about my colleagues who work hard to make Canada even better and stronger. I'd like to take the next few minutes to talk about our Economic Action Plan that was tabled in this House in January 2009. That is a little more than a year ago. This plan was developed by our government to face a deep world recession, the deepest since World War II. This plan is very effective, Mr. Speaker. In all, over 16,000 job creation jobs are ongoing as we speak across Canada. With this plan, I was able to get money for a plant in my riding. I was able to help businesses in difficulty. In partnership with provincial and municipal governments, I was able to announce improvements to local infrastructure. Families in my riding renovated their homes at lower cost because of the tax credit for home renovation. EI benefits were also improved to help workers who were laid off. We also invest in training, Mr. Speaker. In all, our Economic Action Plan is working as we had hoped, and it's important to stay the course, that is, to execute the second year of the plan. It's now time to make sure that the recovery is on a solid basis. We have to concentrate on job creation and growth. In the coming months, our government will continue to put in place measures to create jobs for Canadians. That's our priority. We will do this in many different ways, notably by opening up new markets for Canadian products, by creating a greener economy, and by maintaining our measures for tax relief for our companies. We also have to talk about the challenges in the next few years. That's why we have to plan to get back to budget balance so that our economic prosperity in the long term does not suffer. We have to support Canadian families. Since we came to power, we gave $100 a month to families to help them pay for childcare. We reduced taxes and income tax, which represents thousands of dollars for an average four-person family. We created the tax-free savings account and many other measures. Every time the opposition asked us to raise taxes, we refused. And we will refuse again, because Canadian families deserve to keep money that they worked hard for in their pockets. They can count on us to defend their interests. Our government will pursue its efforts to strengthen our food safety system. We will develop a partnership with NGOs to prevent injuries in childhood, and other measures to help Canadian families who contributed to shaping our country. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to draw your attention and that of my colleagues to other measures in the throne speech, notably those regarding justice. Our government will take measures to increase penalties for sex offenses against children. It will also attack white-collar criminals who ruin the lives of industrious workers and savers. We will also help people who lost a family member to murder by increasing EI benefits. Canadians can count on us to attack crime. It still causes far too much ravage in our society. I will close by saying how proud I am to be part of a team that makes the right decisions for all Canadians. A year ago, Canada was confronting a major recession. A year later, we're on the right track of economic recovery. Our economy came out of this far better than other industrialized countries in this worldwide recession. Just a few weeks ago, our brothers and sisters in Haiti cried out for help. We helped them, and we did it quickly. Just a few hours after the earthquake, our military disembarked on this island to help them deal with this terrible disaster. In coming years, Canada will play a key role on the international scene by welcoming the leaders of the G8 and G20, as well as others. Let me make a prediction here, Mr. Speaker. 2010 will be Canada's year. We will continue what we started at the Olympics by increasing the number of jobs and showing growth, and Canada will be on the top of the podium. In that light, I have the honor of tabling the following motion, seconded by the member for Cumberland Musquodoboit Valley. I move that the following address be presented to Her Excellency the Governor-General. To Her Excellency the Right Honourable Michael Jean, Chancellor and Principal Companion of the Order of Canada, Chancellor and Commander of the Order of Military Merit, Chancellor and Commander of the Order of Merit of the Police Forces, Governor-General and Commander-in-Chief of Canada. May it please Your Excellency, we, Her Majesty's most loyal and dutiful subjects, the House of Commons of Canada in Parliament assembled, beg leave to offer our humble thanks to Your Excellency for the gracious speech which Your Excellency has addressed to both Houses of Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
À l'ordre, Monsieur Généreux, appuyé.
Mr. Généreux, seconded by Mr. Armstrong, moves that the following address be presented to Her Excellency the Governor-General of Canada. May I dispense?
Okay. The questions and comments. L'honorable député de...
Honourable member for Notre-Dame-de-Grâce-la-Chine. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, all this time, this government took almost 3 months, shut down Parliament through prorogation, to come up with this mouse of a speech.
In the content of this throne speech, for the thinness of the substance of this throne speech, the government could have tweeted it, and they still would have had 12 characters left. They would have saved countless trees and our environment. Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, this is just regurgitation of the 2008 throne speech. Throughout the text, you find the exact same sentences, the same statements as the 2008 throne speech. They're talking about the recession, they're talking about job creation, but they give absolutely no measures to help workers, no measures for job creation, nothing to create jobs, no measure in the throne speech
for investment in R&D, nothing about pensions and protecting them, nothing on culture, nothing new for our veterans. The Liberals propose 3 incentives. Why didn't they include those? All experts agree that this would have created jobs. We proposed incentives for hiring young workers. We proposed increased support for manufacturers through a deduction for accelerated capital investments. We proposed tax measures, tax incentives for startups. Why is it that these Conservatives, who seem to be plagiarizing us in their throne speech, even the title of the thing comes from the title of the former defeated Conservative Prime Minister of Australia? There's no creativity among this party. So I'm wondering, why don't they recognize that there's a lack of innovation, creativity? Questions and comments of the Honourable Member for Montmagny-Lilley-Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup. The Honourable Member seems to be seeing that we have not put anything innovative forward. Well, I think that it's clear. It's the elephant in the room, as big as an elephant. It's right there to be seen. What we have created is, in this speech, is precisely what we're going to do. There's no problem there, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Joliette. Order, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think everybody expected, after 2 months of prorogation, to have the government review and change its direction. Indeed, I thought that the Prime Minister said that. But we realized that this speech from the throne is like the previous prorogation, just a maneuver. It is not legitimate. It is not legitimate, particularly with respect to the environment and the unacceptable behavior of the government in Copenhagen, as well as the Afghan detainee question. Here we are faced with a speech from the throne with the same list of conservative measures. And that member is saying that they're going to work twice as hard. It'll be, and what will that mean for all Quebecers? It will mean twice the trouble, twice the hardship. But there is nothing in this speech for the forestry industry, for Rivière-du-Loup, nothing for other industries, and I can tell the House that there are people in his riding that are going to suffer because they don't even have access to employment insurance. That government is doing everything it can for the major oil companies. Nothing for Quebec, no justice for Quebec. There's no indication that Quebec will be adequately compensated. Worse than that, I will say, before I ask my question, that they are putting the Pan-Canadian Securities regulator in place against the wishes of Quebec. Unless this member is just another token Quebecer in the Conservative Party, why can't he speak out? Why is he acting so directly opposite to the interests of the Quebec nation? Order, please. The Honourable Member for Montmagny, Lilley-Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup. Order, please. Mr. Speaker, to my knowledge, the Bloc voted against the government's action plan. That's a shame, I would say. So how can they stand today to say that we are not doing the work and not doing anything for Quebec or Canada? I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, that we are working. We are doing the job. The Honourable Member for New Westminster, Coquitlam. Order, please.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member makes some good points. However, I find the lack of commitment addressing seniors' poverty troubling. Since 1990, seniors' poverty in Canada has doubled. And today, nearly 2 million seniors live below the urban poverty line. 8 months ago, the honourable members of this House unanimously adopted a New Democrat motion to increase guaranteed income supplement in order to help lift Canada's poorest seniors out of poverty. Mr. Speaker, does the honourable member believe it is right that Canadian seniors continue to wait here to how this government will honour their commitment?
The honourable member from Montmagny-Lillet, Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup. Mr. Speaker, it's right there in the speech from the throne, black on white, that the government is going to do much to help the people who are retired in Canada. I don't know why the member from the NDP is asking that question. We're doing our work. We're doing our job. I sincerely think that our government's work is providing all the results, and they, across the way, don't need to worry. Order, please. Questions and comments.
Reprise de débat.
Resuming debate.
The honourable member for Cumberland, Colchester, Musquodoboit Valley.
Mr. Speaker, I am honoured and privileged to second the motion for the address in reply to the speech from the throne. I would like to thank Her Excellency the Governor-General for her eloquent delivery. I'd also like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Right Honourable Prime Minister for the honour of this opportunity. And most of all, I would like to thank the people I represent, the people of Cumberland, Colchester, and the Musquodoboit Valley, for the extraordinary honour of representing them here in Ottawa. Cumberland, Colchester, and the Musquodoboit Valley symbolizes the very heart of rural Canada, and we are proud of our past and eagerly embracing our future. And speaking of our proud past, I'm honoured to follow in the footsteps of many historic figures from our riding. Cumberland, Colchester, and the Musquodoboit Valley was the home of no less than 5 of the 36 founding fathers of Confederation. Wow. Edward Barron Chandler, Robert Barry Dickey, Jonathan Macaulay, Sir Adams George Archibald, and of course, Sir Charles Tupper. And as many honourable members know, Sir Charles Tupper was the Premier of Nova Scotia in 1867 and led our province into Confederation. He went on to serve as the 6th Prime Minister of Canada. And I rise in this House keenly aware of the many political giants that have been elected from my riding, great public servants like Mr. Frank Stanfield, a great entrepreneur and political figure who represented Colchester County in the Nova Scotia House of Assembly and later went on to serve as the 14th Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia. And Frank's son, Robert L. Stanfield, became Premier of Nova Scotia and leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada and was a member of this House. And at this moment, Mr. Speaker, I'm reminded of the words of Robert L. Stanfield, which he penned in a letter to his federal caucus on March 24th, 1974, when he spoke about his vision for our land and our nation. A Canada that was orderly and stable. A Canada that was stable, not static. Mr. Stanfield stood for integrity and humility. And humility, I quote, is a valuable strength provided it does not become an excuse for resisting change, accepting injustice, or supporting vested interests. Mr. Speaker, that philosophy is still embodied in the fabric of Cumberland, Colchester, and the Musquodoboit Valley. Our riding is over 10,000 square kilometres and contains the gateway to Nova Scotia, the Halifax-Stanfield International Airport. And it was our Prime Minister who recognized the contributions of Robert L. Stanfield and was pivotal in renaming the Halifax International Airport in honour of his legacy to our nation. Mr. Speaker, Cumberland, Colchester, and the Musquodoboit Valley touches on 2 waterways, the Northumberland Strait and the Bay of Fundy. And the bay contains the highest and most powerful tides in the world. Cumberland, Colchester, Musquodoboit Valley already harnesses winds, and in our town of Spring Hill, mines that once provided coal to power our houses and industries have since filled with water, and we are tapping this great source of geothermal power. Mr. Speaker, as an educator and a believer in the future of Cumberland, Colchester, and the Musquodoboit Valley, it is tidal power which I believe will help make my riding an international centre for clean and green energy. and it was my pleasure this past January to be in Parsborough, Nova Scotia, to announce on behalf of our government the construction of a 3,500 square foot visitor operations centre. This complex will showcase the harnessing of the Fundy region's promising natural asset, and it will build an international profile for our riding, our province, and our nation. And also this January, I had the great pleasure of joining the Prime Minister as he announced a major economic plan investment that lets us build the Central Nova Civic Centre in Truro, a project that has already put people to work, a lasting legacy that will promote a healthier, more active lifestyle for present and future generations. Now, Mr. Speaker, as I move from local to national, I'd like to take just a minute to thank our Olympic athletes. We have just seen a spectacular Olympic Games, hosted so admirably by Vancouver and Whistler. We saw our athletes rise to the occasion and very often rise to the podium. And in fact, we witnessed Canada's best ever performance. I was moved by the skill, the dedication, and sheer determination of these Canadians who compete against the very best and more than hold their own, including one young man with ties to our riding who now plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins and for Team Canada. But Sidney Crosby at one time was a draft pick and played a game for the Truro Junior A Bearcats, perfect preparation for scoring the winning gold medal goal. Now, during the Olympics, all Canadians came together from coast to coast to coast to cheer our athletes, and our athletes performed magnificently. That spirit of unity that Canadians showed from St. John's to Alert to Victoria should guide us in Parliament, to rise above partisanship and work together, to address the concerns of our constituents, and above all, to focus on jobs and growth. And that spirit of dedication, that spirit of we can do it, that brought our athletes such success, that very spirit should guide us as we confront our challenges and seize opportunities of this coming year. And Canada must continue, like our athletes, to compete against the very best and more than hold our own. And over the past year, Mr. Speaker, Canada has confronted global economic recession, but Canada has fared better than almost any industrialized nation, a testament to the resiliency of Canadians, the prudent regulation of our financial sector, and above all, to the unparalleled effectiveness of Canada's Economic Action Plan. Funds have been committed to almost 16,000 stimulus projects across Canada, of which 12,000 have already begun or have been completed, creating employment and building essential infrastructure for the future. And like the Civic Centre I mentioned being built in my own riding, Mr. Speaker, as excited as we get about big infrastructure projects, we also can't forget the other parts of the Economic Action Plan. Tax cuts let Canadians keep and spend their own money, and tax credits like the Home Renovation Tax Credit spurred economic activity. Enhanced employment insurance benefits provide direct support to the Canadians who have paid into the system year after year and now face hard times. Among our key reforms is allowing self-employed workers to finally opt into the EI system. Statistics Canada announced on Monday that Canada's economy grew almost 5% in the fourth quarter of 2009, the strongest quarter in almost a decade, and a testament to Canada's Economic Action Plan. Canada, Mr. Speaker, is being well served by the plan. We can see the effects at home in Cumberland, Colchester, and the Musquodoboit Valley, just as we can from coast to coast to coast. The first year of the Economic Action Plan has seen the beginning of our economic recovery. But still, far too many Canadians remain unemployed. Now, when the plan is bearing fruit, it is time to stay on course. It is time to implement the second and final phase of the plan to safeguard our recovery and to maintain our focus on jobs and growth. But it is also time, as we finish implementing the Economic Action Plan, to prepare for tomorrow's challenges and also tomorrow's opportunities. We must plan to balance the budget in order to sustain Canada's long-term economic prosperity. Just as paying down the debt before the global recession gave Canada the flexibility to implement a swift and effective stimulus plan, returning to balanced budgets will help Canada emerge stronger than ever. And we must build on the jobs and industries of the future. We will keep taxes competitive, and we will cut red tape. We will continue to sign new trade agreements and open new markets for Canadian goods. And we will make Canada a clean energy superpower, a leader in green job creation on the planet. I already mentioned, Mr. Speaker, the great potential in my own riding, but leadership in developing clean energy is something that is coming to characterize our entire nation. And when we get things done, Canada will emerge stronger than ever, a great place to live, a great place to work, a great place to start a business, create jobs, and grow the economy. I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight a few other measures from the throne speech that are particularly deserving of support of every member of this House. Canadians believe in the rule of law, in a justice system that delivers justice, protecting Canadians young and old, and holding those who commit crimes accountable for their actions. And while this government has passed important legislation, like the truth in sentencing reforms that came into effect just last week, it is essential that we do more and avoid repeating delays and obstruction that have so often frustrated Canadians in the past. As just announced in the speech from the throne, our government will introduce strong new legislation to combat organized crime and ensure that life means life for people who commit multiple murders. And we will give Canada's police officers the vital tools they've asked for, investigative powers for the 21st century. But we will not continue the wasteful and ineffective long gun registry. That registry burdens only law-abiding citizens, law-abiding hunters, law-abiding farmers. Mr. Speaker, this government record of standing up for Canadian families is clear. I'd like to highlight that the government is reintroducing the consumer safety legislation passed by this House in the last session, but unaccountably rejected in the other place. This legislation confers vital powers to keep consumers safe, provides tools to respond quickly to unsafe products, and gives parents assurances that their children are protected from harm. It should be passed in its original, strong, and unaltered form. Mr. Speaker, we've cut taxes for every Canadian, tax-free savings accounts that let us save our money, income splitting for pensioners that gives them a well-earned break. We cut the GST by 2%, the only tax measure that reaches and helps all Canadians. And we utterly reject the opposition's musing on tax increases, and we will continue to stand up for Canadian families. Mr. Speaker, I call upon all members of Parliament to support the speech from the throne. Canadians are not asking for another election, and they expect the government to work for them, to focus not on partisanship, but on jobs and growth. This is a year of opportunity. If we act to seize the moment, the Vancouver Whistler Olympics showcase Canada to the world, and we are hosting the summits of North American leaders, the G8 and the G20, and Her Majesty the Queen of Canada will be in our nation's capital on Canada Day. This throne speech invites all Canadians from coast to coast to coast to embrace our future. And as Robert Stanfield said so memorably in 1974, we must be stable, but not static. This is our government's vision, and the foundation of this vision was laid by the Fathers of Confederation. Our nation, like Cumberland, Colchester, and the Musquedoboit Valley, is stable and far from static. We are proud of our past, and we are embracing our future. Passing the speech from the throne and the important legislation that will come from it is essential for Canada to seize the great opportunities of this year, Canada's year. Thank you.
Order. Questions and comments. The honourable member for Beauséjour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And before I make a brief comment and then pose a question to my fellow maritimer from Cumberland, Colchester, Musquedoboit Valley, I want to begin by congratulating him on his win in the by-election. His riding, Mr. Speaker, is a neighbouring riding to mine. We meet at the border of Amherst, New Brunswick, Amherst, Nova Scotia, and Olac, New Brunswick, and I sincerely congratulate the member on his election and welcome him to this House. Mr. Speaker, in the throne speech, it would appear that the government's only serious commitment to the environment is, in fact, recycling throne speeches. The government simply re-announced and regurgitated old legislative commitments. There was very little, Mr. Speaker, in terms of recalibration, but a great deal in terms of regurgitation.
And Mr. Speaker, you have before you a government that is afraid of accountability. that is not interested in strengthening Canadian democracy and, on the contrary, is ignoring the very clear will of the House when it is a matter of producing the documents so necessary for the important work that our Committee on Afghanistan needs.
He spoke of economic policy. He spoke of small business and unemployment in his constituency, certainly not dissimilar to my riding of Beausejour. Mr. Speaker, I'm wondering if the member could explain to us how small businesses in his riding are reacting to the job-killing payroll taxes that the government is imposing in the form of hikes to employment insurance premiums, hikes that have been estimated, Mr. Speaker, to in fact eliminate up to 200,000 jobs. So if he was serious about helping unemployed people, perhaps he'd want to explain how this tax does something other than destroy jobs in his riding. And finally, Mr. Speaker, a very specific question. Could he give us 3 specific examples, quote specific examples of recalibration, which was so important to take a couple of months to hide from Parliament? Could he give us examples of recalibration that aren't in fact regurgitation?
The honourable member for Cumberland, Colchester, Musquodoboit Valley.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that my riding will support this throne speech. Increased infrastructure spending, focus on jobs and growth, a focus on green energy, including tidal energy in the Bay of Fundy, and a commitment to rid this nation of the long gun registry. Those were the issues I heard at the doorstep after doorstep during the by-election, and those are the issues that this throne speech takes on head-on. So I can tell you that Cumberland, Colchester, and Musquodoboit Valley will stand strong behind this throne speech. There is all kinds of benefits for the people in my riding.
The honourable member for Laval. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I listened attentively to the speech from the throne. I wanted to see if the government was going to propose anything whatsoever to improve the situation of women in Quebec. After hearing the speech from the member for Montmagny, Lille, Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup, I'm convinced that I'm not the only one to have found nothing in the speech from the throne. I listened carefully, but the only action of this government would have been to make parity, wage parity, something negotiable. How can the government justify that it is not taking into account the needs of more than half of the population and that it hasn't done anything to improve the living conditions of women with respect to women workers asking for the right to preventive withdrawal from the workplace and to have wage parity? The honourable member for Cumberland, Colchester, Musquodoboit Valley.
Well, I think that women in Quebec, just like women across this country, support our crime legislation. Legislation that makes life for people who commit multiple murders. Legislation that is lower taxes, supports all women, not just Quebec women, but women across this country, and our focus on jobs and growth, increasing employment, and also increased EI benefits for both women and men across this nation who have lost their job during this global recession. We are standing behind all Canadians, both in Quebec and the rest of this country.
The honourable member for Algoma, Manitoulin, Kapuskasing.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to join with others today and make certain comments about the throne speech. It's high time that the government not only supported but endorsed the statement of the United Nations regarding the rights of Aboriginal peoples. The government should strengthen and reinforce education for Aboriginal people. It's been years that Aboriginals have been asking for equal treatment with respect to access to schools. Can the government say what it intends to do to bring in programs of support for post-secondary education? Is it ready to remove the 2% ceiling? Further, will this government make funds available for building schools in these communities?
Speech means that they will adequately fund First Nations elementary education, K-12, comparable to that being funded by provinces and territories. Et encore plus important,
and even more important, will the government make sure that it consults with Aboriginals before there are any changes to education support programs for these students? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Cumberland, Colchester, Musquodoboit Valley.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this government has done incredible things for the Aboriginal population of this nation, like the Millbrook Reserve in my riding. We've invested millions of dollars in the Department of Indian Affairs, between $9 and $10 billion, and that continues to grow under this government. We are now looking into the Sisters and Spirits program to help find out why we have Aboriginal women disappearing across Canada. That is an initiative of this government. And we are investing millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars into land claims across this nation, settling one land claim after another. This government stands behind our Aboriginal population.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I listen to some of the questions posed to my honourable colleague from Nova Scotia, it almost makes me wonder if the members of the opposition even listened to the throne speech. Because, Mr. Speaker, obviously they didn't hear the same message of hope and the vision for the future, both the medium term and long term, that those of us on this House and those that the Canadians heard during the throne speech, Mr. Speaker. I was particularly drawn to the fact that just like the Olympics that just were completed, and as we look forward to the Paralympics, Mr. Speaker, we know how hard Canadians are working and how hard they worked at the Olympics and how hard they work across this land from coast to coast to coast. And that was reflected in the throne speech. It was reflected in giving Canadians hope for a brighter future. And I don't understand why the opposition wants to be so negative, so much all of the time, negative all the time. They don't seem to be in tune, Mr. Speaker, with the mood of the Canadian people. Canadian people are looking for hope. They're looking for parliamentarians to work collectively and cooperatively together. And what do we see, Mr. Speaker? What we did see, we picked up right where we left off, Mr. Speaker, before Christmas, unfortunately, with the opposition nitpicking about every little thing instead of trying to put forward some constructive solution, some constructive suggestions for how this country can move forward. Why aren't they applauding this government and this member on a great speech? Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, I want to applaud him. I want to refer him to the fact 16,000 infrastructure jobs projects across this nation. I'm sure he could tell us about some of those projects going on in his riding, where this government, working cooperatively with the provinces and with the municipal governments, have given some hope to the Canadian people as we work our way out of this recession, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Cumberland, Colchester, Musquodoboit Valley.
Well, I thank the Honourable Member for his question. In our riding, the Cumberland, Colchester, Musquodoboit Valley, we have benefited significantly from the Economic Action Plan. We have many stimulus investments, including the Central Nova Civic Centre, 2 announcements in Parsborough, 1 for the Fundy Geological Centre, 1 for the Innovative Centre and the Visitor Centre for tidal power. We've had investments in transportation for rural communities. We've had investments in roads. We've had investments in infrastructure in Nova Scotia Agricultural College, investments in infrastructure in the Nova Scotia Community College, both in Spring Hill and in Truro. Announcement after an announcement, keeping people in my riding employed. But it's not just Cumberland, Colchester. This throne speech highlights investment across this nation, helping young Canadians enter the job market, focusing on skills, apprenticeships and training, postdoctoral studies support, reforming and strengthening the First Nations education, promoting investment in Canada, opening markets, Mr. Speaker, strong financial centres, energy and mining, forestry, fisheries, agriculture, aquaculture. This throne speech contains something for every riding across this country. It's going to build the future of this country, and I am proud to stand up and stand behind this throne speech, Mr. Speaker.
Order. The time for questions and comments has now expired. Resuming debate, reprise de débat, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Seconder of the address in reply. Je veux féliciter le député.
I'd like to congratulate the member for Montmagny-Lillet, Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup.
The beautiful constituency of Cumberland-Colchester. Thank the member for his contribution. Et je propose que le débat...
And I move that this debate be now adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Ignatieff, seconded by Mr. Kuzner, moves that the debate be now adjourned. Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed, and so ordered. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Mr. Hill, seconded by Mr. O'Connor, moves that the House do now adjourn. Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed, so ordered. Accordingly, this House stands adjourned until tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m.